Hi friends, good morning. I am Swathi and we have a very good book today, The Untold Story of Sita. I hope generally everyone knows about Ramayana, a general brief history about Ramayana. This book, The Untold Story of Sita, first my review of it. This is one of the books that I will have in my bedside for many more years to come. So it is such an empowering and powerful inspirational book. It will take your spiritual sadhana a leap and bound ahead. So much examples of how an enlightened master behaves. See, we have to understand Ram was an enlightened master. Sita was an enlightened master. Sita's father Janak was an enlightened master. So the interactions that happen between all these people and the thoughts that arise out of these conscious beings have powerful depth and vibration added to them. So the entire book was a joy to read. It was a blessing to read, and that is my review of the book. So in this book, many myths have been broken. We always find Sita as a victim in Ramayana, a female, a consort of Ram who has been abducted and helpless throughout Ramayana, who needs saving from Rama. And this book has broken all those myths and shows really how the ancient female rishis were, how strong they were, and what all they could do, how powerful they were. And this book is a testimony to that. I read this book during my pregnancy, and from that day till today, all I could think about is whenever I step in myself inside a difficult situation, what I could think about is what Sita would have done, what Sri Ram would have done, what Mata would have done. This is all that goes inside my head when I find myself in very tough situations. So in all their dimensions, all the conscious characters here, they have love as their underlying fabric. Every interaction happens, every thought that arises is based on love. I think it is very much needed for humanity nowadays. We are going through tough times, and this book takes you beyond time and into the space they held, the space of love they held, the love that was found in all human beings, the love that is required to be shared among all human beings, all creatures, all animals, and ultimately to the planet Earth herself. Yeah, let me share my PPT first. Let's start with my gratitude to Dina Mariam, the author of this book, and let me set the context for the book. So, Dina Mariam, she has been a Kriya Yogi, she has been a meditator in this life since 1970. Since her childhood, she has been connected to Ram and Sita very deeply. And she was a devotee of them, and she was in reverence and respect and love with them. So she takes a spiritual trip to India. She visits Ayodhya, Rishikesh, Ganga. I think everyone is familiar. If not, these are spiritual spots where Ram and Mata Sita and Sri Ram landed, where they landed and they lived during their times. And she takes a spiritual trip to India. When she visits the birthplace of Ram or the palace in which Sita used to be, um, all these places subtly, gently reminds her, brings up the memories she had during her past lives. Over the period of next few months, whenever she goes into meditation, she starts having visions. She starts getting messages from her past life, past incarnations. So, mind you, this was 5,000 to 7,000 years back when Rama and Sita lived on this planet. So she starts getting deep visions and messages from these masters, and by their pure love, how they changed humanity, how they formed the basis for future generations to come. So we have to understand this. When she views Rama and Sita, all we know is Rama was a representation, he was all about dharma, what was right, instead of doing what was pleasant. And Sita was all about nature. She was in tune with the nature and abundance that followed her. So, and both had love as their basis. So we can easily understand that to express dharma, love has to be there. To express abundance, love has to be there. And love is the fabric that unites all these things, all these concepts. So in her past lives, she experiences this untold love that Sita and Ram expressed for all creatures on this planet, and she goes back. She is drawn back into her past lives. She lived as Meenakshi and Anusuya. She had two past lives connected to them. One was Meenakshi and one was Anusuya, and she goes back into these past lives. And the entire book travels in accordance with this. And this is the incidents she viewed. These are the messages she received. These are the incidents she saw when she was living with Ram and Sita. And that is how her story and Ram and Sita's story travel in parallel, in unison together. And that is all. And it is with great gratitude. I have so much gratitude for her to doing this, for finishing this book and publishing it out. Yeah. So let us start in Madila. So everyone knows Madila was a kingdom in ancient Bharat, and this kingdom was fully based on wisdom and gratitude. So the main purpose, the every city has a lifeline, right? Some cities are all about high performance. If you see New York, it is all about high performance. If you see London, it is all about finance. So similarly, Mithila was all about wisdom and knowledge. So it was practiced in every household in Mithila, and the king of the Mithila was Janak. He was fondly referred to as Janak Baba. Baba means father, and his wife was Sunainama. So these two people were the ruling people in Mithila at the time, and only gratitude was practiced towards Mithila, and the base motto for them is whatever you take from nature, you have to give back twice to nature. If you take food from nature, you have to give back. At least you have to plant two times whatever you have taken from nature. This is how much gratitude they held. This is how much gratitude they held for Vasantara Devi, the goddess Earth in Mithila. So the Mithila now is in a period of drought and famine. So why drought and famine? We will see that later. But Mithila is in an extensive spread for 16 years. It was in drought and famine. So, and Janak Baba didn't know what to do. So Janak Baba was an enlightened master. He was called a Raja Rishi. He was seated in meditation, rooted in meditation. So obviously he started sharing whatever he had. The grains in the royal palace was not only for them, it was spread. It was given to everyone out. So he went into deep fasting, because whenever there was no food in the kingdom, even he didn't have food. He went into fasting. He was such an ascetic. His principle was to share with everyone whatever he had. So ultimately, when he sits in meditation, one day a river goddess comes. He has the vision of river goddess, and river goddess teaches him how to do farming, how to plow, how to take water from the river into the fields and do farming. So Mithila survives a few more years by doing farming. When during this time, a nearby kingdom, Kosala was a big kingdom. It was a nearby kingdom, and King Dasarath was a king of that kingdom, and he helps them. He helps Janak, and he helps the entire kingdom of Mithila. and he sends grains, and Mithila becomes indebted. They are in debt to the Kosala kingdom. So this is the situation of Mithila, and Meenakshi, our author Dina Miriam, she is born as Meenakshi in this kingdom. So she is born she is born to a family who are a lifelong. For many generations, they have been servants to Janak Baba. So Meenakshi is born in this palace, and her father is a close maid, a right hand, a helping maid, Janak Baba. And Meenakshi gets to know she is also trained as a servant in her early years. So now this is the story of Meenakshi, and this is the story of Mithila. Since Mithila is in deep famine now, Chanak Baba starts pujas and does meditation, whatever he can do to bring a balance to the nature in Mithila. So we have to understand, if it is not raining in some parts, it means there is a serious disturbance, a serious problem in some other parts of the world. We often fail to understand whatever we do in one part of the world affects other part of the world significantly. So, when deep in meditation, Janak Baba understands there is some disturbing nature. There is some disturbance in some other part of the world. There is some negative forces rising in some other part of the world. So, when he does meditation, all he asks for is a beautiful feminine conscious to be born in his generation. So, he asks for that. He was never selfish in his entire life. He never thought about expanding his kingdom. He never thought about having a male heir to his generation. He wanted a beautiful female, divine conscious baby to land in his generation. So one day, Janak Baba visits one part of Mithila where there is a severe drought and famine, and he and Sunainama sit in meditation and puja, and suddenly they are aroused. They wake up to the cry of a baby, a small baby, and Janak Baba knows that divine consciousness has landed. He sets his plow on the field, and immediately the rain starts pouring. The earth splits, and the baby is born. So, during those days, we have to understand there is a technique. This technique was followed in those days where a woman could not give birth. When a woman did not have the capacity to give birth, pregnation was possible. The mother earth acted as a womb, and pregnancy was done during with the earth as a womb. So Mother Vasundhara Devi opens up, Mother Earth Goddess opens up and gives the baby. You can see such circumstances in Mahabharata as well. So when she could not deliver herself, the soil from the Mother Earth. So when Mata the wife of that's the mother of Duryodhan. So when he could not be born, so rishis and sages make a clay womb out of the mother earth, and he was delivered out of the womb. We can see such magnificent creations, a magnificent power of sages that they were exhibited during these ancient times. So coming back to the story, Sita Mata is born. So Janak Baba is happy that Sita Mata is born, and he names the baby Sita because she was born out of Mother Earth, and she's known as a furrow. Sita means furrow to the earth. He is born out of the Mother Earth. Now, and parallelly in continuation with the story of Meenakshi, that is Dina Mariam's past lives, Meenakshi father dies with an accident during an accident, and Meenakshi goes in deep guilt. You know how it is, right? When some member of the family dies, you always suspect whether it is because of your actions and instincts that member's death had happened. So Meenakshi goes in deep guilt because they had a fight just before her father died. So Meenakshi's story is like that. It moves like that. Meenakshi is in guilt. Now Sita Mata is born. The moment Sita was born, the moment everyone in the family was mesmerized with that being, because she is nature herself. She was Mother Earth's baby, and she exhibited all the qualities of feminine consciousness. You know how it is, a feminine consciousness, when it is flowered, you will see deep love, deep care for all the creatures on the Mother Earth. And she was like that. Whenever you were near her, you could feel the healing energy and loving energy of Mata's presence in all beings. And everyone gradually started calling her Mata because she was mother. For everyone in the kingdom, she was a mother. When she starts, so Raja Rishi Janak, he had this habit of going to visiting various sages and hermitages in the parts of Mithila, because that was a kingdom of wisdom. So there were various ashrams in the Mithila. So, and this Janak Baba had the habit of visiting these ashrams and learning from all these rishis. So in those days, we have to understand they were not there. They didn't have written scriptures out, and the wisdom was flowing from guru to shishya. It was in that manner the wisdom had flown. So he has this habit of reading book. What Patriji says, right? So instead of reading book, you have to read a lot of books. In those days, he didn't have access to it, so he visited a lot of rishis and munis and ancient sages, and he started learning and meditating with them. So, in one such trip, Sita is taken along. Mind you, Sita was only a newborn child, very few months in the form of a baby. So, this is also a beautiful incident. Raja Rishi comes to inform Sita that he is going to visit a rishi. Sita immediately holds his hand, and Raja Rishi, without even using those words, Sita communicates to her father, and her father immediately knows that she wants to come along, and he takes her along. So such was the fabric between Sita and her father. So they never needed words to communicate what was required between them, and they never needed physical presence throughout their journey to explore each other's presence. They always had this communication, beautiful bond with each of them, and that is what happens when you have enlightened master or a person who is in the meditator in your family as a parent. So I experience this on a daily basis with my parents. I experience this on a daily basis with my husband. So that is why the entire family has to meditate. The communication becomes very easy, so easy. So you need not express yourself to other person. They automatically know what is needed for you, and they start doing. So coming back to the story, and Janak Baba takes Sita Mata along to the ashram. When Janak Baba and all the meditators, all the sages were meditating along, Sita Mata takes her first step out of her bed and goes and sits with them, lies down near their side. Such a beautiful inspiration, right? It is always said when you meditate, the energy is given across the entire family. We never understand that. So it is true. If you have a newborn child or kid, sit beside them and always meditate, because your energy flows to them automatically. So Sita Mata gets up, takes her first step, and goes inside and sits in a group meditation. Such is power of a group meditation. So again, a simple point to tell about group meditation is, so all we think, why group meditation, right? Patricia always says sit in group meditation. What happens really in group meditation is, when you sit alone, you will download the cosmic energy according to the state and space you are, according to how much meditation you can do. Whereas whenever you sit in group meditation, the amount of energy that gets downloaded is not according to you, it is in proportion to the most senior master who is doing meditation. Most senior in the sense, the state and space, in regard to how much deep he is in meditation. So the energy he or she downloads is spread to everyone. If he is downloading 10 units of energy, the 10 unit of energy reaches you as well. If you are sitting and doing meditation alone, if it is only 5 units of energy, so see how much energy you can download with so many masters sitting beside you and doing meditation. So such is the power of group meditation. So coming back to the story, From the early years, Mata was in deep union with all nature and beings. She felt every being's pain, she felt every being's suffering, and she used to communicate with these animals and birds. This book has so many incidents, shows you so many incidents how an enlightened being behaves. Patri sir often says, be vegetarian, always be a vegetarian. You never understand why we are doing meditation, that should do enough, right? But that is not the case. When you are an enlightened master, when you are a conscious being, in your being, you will understand the pain and suffering of every other creature in this planet Earth. Their pain becomes your pain. And that is why Patri sir repeats again and again to see all his animals, to see all his birds happy on this planet Earth. So let's be a vegetarian. Mata and Sri Ram both were vegetarians. Many books used to say they were Kshatriya. They are born in a ruling kingdom, so they must have taken non-vegetarian food as their lifestyle. But I do not believe in my heart. So only such people who love nature, these are people who are loving nature, and they could not have harmed a single being during their journey in the planet. So she was in deep communication with nature, and she used to talk to river goddess. And in fact, river goddess once comes before her and gives a lesson about death, shares a lesson about death. So Meenakshi father, now after receiving the lesson about death, Meenakshi was beside her. Our author Dina Miriam was beside her, and she heals Meenakshi. Mata heals Meenakshi with such polite words, explaining how death should be taken. Death is a part and a transition of human body, and she explains that. Immediately, the moment you hear her wisdom, Meenakshi comes out of deep guilt, and she is in peace after that. So Sita now has to go. Janak Baba never refused knowledge to anyone. In ancient times, the knowledge was not particularly given to a girl child, but Janak Baba made sure that Sita had that education. She was educated under a sage, a female rishi sage, Gargi, and she was and Sita Mata was deep in discussion. Sita Mata was a brilliant child. She was full of questions. She wanted to understand what it was. So she started understanding what thoughts are, what vibrations are, what sounds are. So let me briefly explain what these are. So Mata asks question, why do we need to chant mantras? Why are thoughts not enough? And Sage Gargi says, thoughts are not enough. Thoughts are not enough in this, for many people, it is not enough in this physical realm. When you are in higher realms where frequency is very subtle, the thoughts are enough to create vibrations throughout Mother Earth. We think about few thoughts, right? And we leave it to to the air. We think about so many negative thoughts and we leave it to the air. So in this book, it is beautifully described how a thought of a single person, and that too a conscious being, affects the entire humanity, affects all ether, and it is there in the ether permanently. So that is why when they utter a word, it is the responsibility of cosmos to fulfill it. When a conscious being says a word, the cosmos comes down with full force of energy to fulfill the thoughts of a conscious being. So they give out thoughts, they give out sounds and vibrations with such such profound energy to them. So Sita Mata is growing up. Sita Mata now has a new maid. Please, I'll be speaking a little more time than what is obtained to me. So please have little patience. I'll finish it off quickly. Yeah. Sita Mata now has another servant, Soma, and Sita Mata, Meenakshi is assigned as a servant to Sita Mata. So Sita Mata has now two servants, Soma and Meenakshi, and all whatever Sita Mata know, she directly taught Meenakshi and Soma. Soma was informally her first disciple. And Meenakshi views all the teachings, that interactions that happen between Sita Mata and Soma, and she learns so much. Our author learns so much. So she is coming to Sita Mata is coming to adulthood now, and she's a meditator. She's a deep meditator, and she often escapes into forest to sit in meditation. And she has so many experiences. She has visions. She has telepathic experiences. She could understand everyone's thoughts and read. She could read minds of other people. She could understand what's going on in other person's hearts, and she could see. So right, when your third experiences are blown, you could see the aura of another person. You could see much more than an ordinary eye and vision could see. So Sita Mata could all do all that. And Sita Mata was an expert in Sajjana Sangatya. She used to debate in extensively with her father. So Sita Mata was following everything in PSSM principles. This is the summation I could give. She was doing meditation. She was doing Sajjana Sangatya. She was a vegetarian. And they didn't have books then. So she used to visit with her father. She used to travel around with her father to so many ashrams and sages' place, and she used to learn from them. So Sita Mata was doing all that, and she was so beautiful. Her form radiated so much beauty. She had a brilliant mind, and she was so humble. And these were the qualities of Sita Mata. One time, what happens? Sita Mata goes deep into meditation, deep into samadhi, and Janak Baba could not retrieve her back. So he sits beside in meditation with her, and he attains so much. He goes into so much deep meditation, and Sita Mata comes back, hearing the voice of Sri Ram. Sita Mata knew whom she was going to marry, and Ram says, "I'll come for you. So wait in your human body." So she comes back to her human body and starts continuing. So Sita Mata is an active participant in governing as well. So she goes villages to villages, sets councils in these villages, so they could start administering themselves. Exactly, this is the foreigners these are the foreigning people for India's democracy. Janak Baba, Sita Mata, and Sri Ram. They found the concept of setting village councils, what we know as panchayat these days, and they taught people to do democracy. Till then, it was king's son after king's son, so it was like that. So after this, they started doing democracy. So this is how Sita Mata is now in her adulthood. So next, Sri Ram comes to Mithila. Sita Mata comes of age, and it is her time for marriage. So, a quick introduction about the nearby kingdom of Kosala. I have already told you, Kosala sent Mithila so much when they were in drought and famine. So, Mithila is already in debt to Kosala. And the Kosala's capital was Ayodhya. Kosala was an expanding kingdom during that time, and Ayodhya had so much military might and power. And the king was Dasarath, and his firstborn son is Sri Ram. So this is all we need to know at this time. We'll know more about their family and life as we proceed. So Sita Mata, Janak Baba in his meditation receives messages. So that was the lifestyle in earlier times. They did not think and do. They all whatever is required for their life, they started receiving it as messages. So Janak Baba receives a message that Sita Swayamvar has to be arranged, and with the precise condition that the Mahadeva's bow with his, which he had, Janak Baba had Mahadeva's bow, and it has to be lifted up. And mind you, again, Sita Mata lifted Janak Baba's bow when she was a very little child. So it was not the physical strength that was required to lift Mahadeva's bow. It was the pure will of and blessings of Mahadev that was required. So this was set as condition for the marriage. Whoever was capable of lifting the bow and stringing the bow and arrow bow, he was the suitor for Sita Mata. So Sri Ram enters. Sri Ram is again as an enlightened being, and he enters Ayodhya to visit this bow. And in turn of events, he gets to participate. He gets to participate in Mata's Swayamvar arrangements, marriage arrangements, and he wins her hand. So just before entering Mithila, Sri Ram had killed Asura Tadaka. Sri Ram has been doing this. Sri Ram's journey, he has been killing so many demons who are destroying planet Earth, and he kills Asura Tadaka, who is a female Asura. So Sita Mata is deeply disturbed by it. Yeah, and when Ram explains Sita Mata, um, there was no practice of killing female, and it was considered a great sin to kill a female. So Ram explains Sita Mata that sometimes you have to see beyond the physical form to do dharma, what is required. When there is responsibility to do, there will be so many obstructions, and we miss the bigger picture out. So Ram explains, I have to see the bigger picture. Beyond her physical form, I had to see her female consciousness. Beyond that, I have to see her soul. And for her soul to expand and grow, he had to kill her. So, in this entire epic, Rama never killed out of vengeance nor out of hatred. He killed out of pure love. He killed so that the being could go into another body and has another opportunity to come back again and learn new things, to grow in that evolution. So he never killed out of hatred, he never killed out of revenge. So when he explains it to Sita, we do understand that why killings happen during those times. And Sita Mata and Sri Ram are now married. Janak Baba extensively trains Sri Ram about how democracy should be, how farming should be done, and Sita Mata and Sri Ram are coming back to Ayodhya. So our author Meenakshi and and Soma, who is another servant, also come back to Ayodhya. So Ayodhya, Sita Mata could immediately understand in the household of Ayodhya, it is full of politics because King Dasrath had three wives. When he had three wives, he is torn between three wives. That is why Sri Ram was a Ekapatni Vrata. He was a founding of Indian societal setup. He only had one wife, and that is how, because for the children to go, for the family to grow financially, societally, and in spiritual path, you need a stable family first. See, Sri Ram was very aware of that. So that is why he made sure that he only had one wife. He didn't marry many, and everything was stable. And that is what we follow even in India today. Many have only one wife, because a stable family is required to grow spiritually. So Mata comes back to Ayodhya. She doesn't have so much freedom that she had in Mithila, because Mithila, she used to roam freely. In Ayodhya, she is always restricted. One day, Mata mischievously goes to Sarayu River. She escapes from the palace and she goes to Sarayu River. And Sarayu River greets her. So, Sarayu, this is a lifestyle form. You can see all those extraterrestrial beings, and you can meet all these beings from higher dimensions. You can see them through their eyes. This was a life form then, and Sita Mata meets Sarayu goddess and enjoys in the river. So a sudden unexpected turn happens. Now you know what Ramayana is all about. It is all about ups and downs and how Sita Mata and Sri Ram face them beautifully. So King Sri Ram is told to go into forest for exile. So I'm quickly jumping into that story because this is after which the prominence of an enlightened master comes, how a conscious being behaves happen. Why they went into exile, why he was forced, you can read the book and know. But here is what a bigger picture happens. Yeah, Sita Mata is not afraid to go into forest. Sita Mata loves forest, so she sees the bigger picture that whatever her purpose of life is happening now. So she was happily accepted the exile. She goes in exile with Ram for 14 years, not for 1 year, 2 years. It was 14 years. She had to be in forest for 14 years, and she does that happily because she knew a bigger picture was there. She was not afraid. She was never afraid to live in forest, and she happily and peacefully, calmly accompanies Ram into forest. Now, before going into the forest, Sita Mata makes so much preparation. So, until now, her physical presence was there. Her physical presence was there, and she could do anything she wanted to do. Now, everything has to be done astrally. Sita Mata and Sri Ram were an adept, yeah, in astral travels, and she Sita Mata does Agni Pratishta. What is Agni Pratishta is, they chant an invocation and bring fire out of energy, out of the energy she has, out of the pure will she has, she manifests Agni. Yeah, the science behind it, if you want to know what happens during Agni Pratishta, we can discuss that later. But Sita Mata was adept in Agni Pratishta. She was a powerful being. She can transform matter to energy, energy back to matter. She was adept in all that. So by pure will, she creates Agni in the palace of Ayodhya, and with that Agni, she makes sure the entire palace is guarded. So we have to understand this concept of energy now. Yeah, every being vibrates with a certain frequency. Yeah, and when a conscious being who has done so much meditation, everything she uses, everything the being uses, holds that particular energy. For example, the sari I wear, the dress I wear, or the spectacle I wear daily holds my energy, my frequency in that. So that is why whenever we visit few places or few houses, we feel very disturbed. And whenever we visit few other houses, we feel very calm, because the energy of the beings is grasped by the materials around them. So the Agni, the fire, has the energy of Sita Mata, and it protects the entire palace until she is returning back. So we have to come back to the story of Meenakshi as well. So Sita Mata, before departing, she gives a very good instruction to Meenakshi. She says, you have to take care of Mata Kaikeyi, who is responsible for her to go into exile. So she was such a deep, loving being. She said, go and take care of her, because once she realizes what she has done, she will go into deep guilt. And you know what guilt is, right? Meenakshi knows what guilt is. She has suffered. Only then you are the right person to show compassion to her. You will know how to show compassion to her. So Sita Mata asks her author, Dena Mariam, to take care of Kaikeyi. And Kaikeyi and does that. It's a big lesson for her, because our Meenakshi was in love with Sita Mata. And there is no way she could love Kaikeyi, who asked Sita Mata to go into forest. So Sita Mata, just for teaching our author patience and love, she gives this task. And in this period, she understands compassion. She understands what goes inside other people's hearts, and she comes out with compassion. Meenakshi, Dina Mariam comes out with compassion. So Sita Mata now astrally, before leaving, goes to Janak Baba. As I told earlier, Janak Baba and Sita Mata never required physical presence. Okay, they used to travel astrally, and she travels astrally and takes a blessing and goes into exile. Before going into exile, she gives a word to her author. She tells, I will make sure you see me. We will meet again before you die. Our author is in her elder ages, and elder ages. So she says, we'll meet again. Don't worry. Meenakshi is worried that it has to be 14 years. Her body has to hold the being for 14 years. Sita Mata says, we'll meet for 14 years. We'll meet again before you die. Don't worry. So finally, before Meenakshi dies, so what happens? She goes into the river Sarayu, where Sita Mata first went and played. So she goes there and asks Mata, I don't think my body will hold this being so much longer. Immediately after looking, she could see Sita Mata standing near, looking by Sita Mata standing at the edge of the river. It was not 14 years, it was only few years after going to exile. She could see Sita Mata. Sita Mata comes, come on, Meenakshi, you are getting drenched. Come out, take my shawl, go back to the palace. Yes, don't worry, he says, and she goes away. She is confused. Meenakshi is confused. When she goes into the palace, she sees Mata is not there, but the shawl that was laid out for her is the shawl that she is having today. and the hems of the sari, the edges of the cloth that is laid out on the bed for her is wet. So she could understand that her experience is real. So often we have these meditational experiences, masters. We have the meditational experiences with many senior masters, many masters. I had personally one experience with Mahatma Babaji, and he made sure that I understood that experience, that he was there for me, and he made sure he left a sign for me so that I do not doubt myself, uh, so that I do not question myself whether the experience was real or not. So Sita Mata makes sure that Meenakshi understood the experience was real, and Meenakshi leaves her body very peacefully, and she rests in peace. Our author rests in peace, and this is where we stop. So you have to understand that Sita Mata had installed her presence in Ayodhya. Similarly, Ram installed his presence via his slippers, padkas, sandals in Ayodhya. So Sita Mata's and Ram energies are there in Ayodhya for the next 14 years to come. So, so if you want to know about what this Agni Pratishta is, why she does that, basically Sita Mata creates an energy portal between her and the people in the palace. When she does this Agni Pratishta, the people could communicate via the Agni to her, and she could communicate back to them. There are various instances in the book where it will be explained. Yeah, this is basically an energy portal that is being established. An enlightened master could easily do that. He could establish his part of energy in some other place, and so that he can move himself to the place, and he could do whatever that has to be done without his presence can be done. Yeah. So this is the summary until now. So this book is filled with master's experiences, master's powers, extra, all mystical things a master does when the master is enlightened. So this is a beautiful reading, and this is just part one. So what comes next is our mighty Ravana, and Sita Mata enters his kingdom uh, just out of pure compassion to the Mother Earth. She willingly accepts and enters his kingdom, Sri Lanka, the Golden Lanka, and we will see all about that in the next session. Yeah, whenever we get the next session, we will see that. And I think whatever I have to put across, I have to put across. It is a packed session. I know there is so much to discuss and think about. I hope it has reached you beautifully. That is there. And let us go into Q&A.